this is AJREACTS2, and today we have a very, very, very special video. Today I'm going to be ranking every single season of Lost, and I can't do this alone. I got my buddy Chris from Talkin TV podcast, and he's got other stuff going on too. And yeah, he's a great guy. I've been on his channel a couple times. This is the first time on him being on my channel. So yeah, let's just bring him in here.
Yo,
Chris, what's up, man?
Dude, I am fired up, man. That intro, I mean, wow. Let's get into this, dude. Thank you for having me so much, man. I cannot wait.
Yeah, man. It's something that I feel like I don't get to really talk about a lot. I geek out about it. When it was on, I watched probably like the last 2 seasons on TV, but I was just all about it. I was obsessed. I did a speech in high school. It was supposed to be 8 minutes. I went 18 minutes.
Wow.
and nobody stopped me. But yeah, like, so I'm hyped for this. What is your like general consensus of the show? Like, what are your thoughts on the show overall?
Yeah, man, listen, Lost is something I grew up with. I have memories of watching the season. What's the season where they go back in time to the Dharma village? I always get my number confused. I think it's 5, right? With the nuclear bomb and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you haven't seen Lost, I mean, this is going to be spoiler filled. We're going to go through each season. So
I mean, why haven't you seen it? I think that's a better question to ask yourself.
If you haven't seen it. 2010? Like,
yeah, 2010. Exactly. And so, you know, I remember this show in so many different parts of my life. I remember being scared watching Saeed come out of the woods as Jin season for the first time when they realized, like, oh my God, like, we're in the past right now. Why are you guys dressed up in Dharma? I was terrified. I remember the others keeping me up at night, man. You know, and then I also remember rewatching it when I'm older and just like sort of like really understanding more of like what's going on with the love triangle and all that stuff. And this show has layers,
it went
man.
over my head when I watched it the first time, but now I'm like, what?
Yeah, this show's like a part of my upbringing and still to this day my routine, I would say. Really, every 3 months it's comfort food.
Man, it's so good, and it kind of like shaped television in a way. Like it had a huge impact. It was a huge show when it was on, and it really like specialized in flashbacks, which was kind of cool. I'm not the biggest flashback guy, and I know it's kind of weird me saying that. And this show is like primarily flashbacks, like half the show are flashbacks. But like they did something with this that just made it so relevant to the story and made it so rich, so much more rich than it would be if it was like linear, like a linear timeline. So. Yeah, I mean, we could go on about this forever, but we're gonna get into the rankings. So, starting with season 1 of Lost, what are you thinking about this this season? The kickoff, the starter, the origin.
You know, so first off, let me pose a question to you, AJ. When in television history have you ever had a 2-part pilot as strong as this one?
Dude, I'm saying for real, it was so strong. And it's weird. This is not the season I started with.
Really?
Yeah.
You didn't jump in from the beginning?
Dude, it's a funny story. I was a library nerd. Like, I went to the library all the time. I would get movies, albums, and whatever. And I saw Lost. I was like, okay, there's only 1 season here. Why don't I just get it? So I got season 3 of Lost, took it home, binged it, and I was like, this show is amazing. So this is the order.
How old were you at this point in time?
How old was I? I don't know. I was like in 9th grade, maybe freshman in high school.
Okay, so you're like 14, 13,
14,
15, around that time.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And you weren't confused.
I was super confused, but the thing is, it's so weird. Like, and once I watched season 3, you know how you can order things from the library. I went online and ordered all the ones that were available, which was 1 through 4 at the time. So this is how I watched the season: season 3, season 2, season 4, in season 1, and then 5 and 6 I caught on TV. It was
crazy.
It's crazy, but after I watched all of it, it all made sense to me.
You would definitely have a very unique viewing experience.
It was very unique, but I loved it.
I've heard. That's awesome, man. I think that even speaks more to the power of this show, that you can jump in at any point.
Yeah,
there's something for anyone, at least as far as I'm concerned.
Right, and I think the premiere of that season 3 is what grabbed me. I know the pilot of the show is what grabbed most people, but the beginning of season 3 is what got me. So.
What's the song they used for that? It wasn't the because season 2 is the one where they premiere with the hatch, which is my favorite opening of any Lost. But I know the season 3 one was pretty strong too.
Season 3, I know that's like where Boone shows up as a ghost, and I'm like, who is this Boone dude? And so
it'll come back to us.
Mr. Echo.
Oh man.
But season 1, back to season 1. It was such a strong pilot episode. I had seen many episodes before I watched this, but it was so good as well.
Yeah, the thing about season 1 to me is I love how, and I hate this in most shows, because I kind of feel like it's the thing that you got to figure out before you really start shooting. And sure, you'll find your voice as you shoot and you change things on the fly. But Lost, if people don't really know, this show really found its voice on the fly, because the second it got picked up for a pilot, that's all they had written. They didn't know if this thing was going to take. It was kind of just like an excuse in my mind, and this is me speculating right now, not like using any actual facts from the production, but like to me, it seemed like it was like JJ just wanted to take a vacation to Hawaii, and he's such a filmmaker that he had to bring a couple friends, bring a crew, and hire some actors, and he just can't stop working. The guy.
They did the dang thing,
but they didn't have anything really written out throughout the entirety of the show, really, and then they didn't have like an end in sight. So to me, like, to watch the show find its voice and to kind of like take how Survivor was the huge show at the time, the huge reality TV show, and take obviously influence from that, all these like beautiful looking people, and put them on an island. But then so quickly you get that smoke monster, that ruffle in the woods, and you get that Jurassic Park homage, and you get like the tension. We're not alone on this island. So it's like season episodes 1 and 2 to me were such a misleading pilot, but also the perfect jumping in point for like an audience who hadn't really, I think, in my opinion, seen such deep sci-fi around such like a normie presence. I hate using the word normie. We're all normal people, but you know what I mean.
And it just grabs you. It grabs you. It does.
Yeah, it's a strong hook, in my opinion.
It really is. So overall, what are we feeling on this season? I would say fantastic. Fantastic start. Yeah, I would say fantastic start to the show.
Yeah, I would say fantastic as well.
Okay.
I think it was just,
you can do that.
They layered it on in such a way that really was just, I mean, there's a reason why it was like the most viewed show on television.
Yeah, it's true.
At the time.
And I was literally, I think I was in like 4th or 5th grade when the show came out. So I didn't catch it on TV as it premiered, obviously, since I got it from the library. But it was huge for a while. It was huge.
I wasn't allowed to watch it, honestly, back in the day.
I probably wouldn't have been either. I probably wouldn't have been.
Because even though it is like an ABC show and it's like under that Disney umbrella, it is super safe, but it takes a lot of risks, especially if we're going back to like 2004, right? I believe that's when the show aired. I mean, it's a little risky.
Yeah,
there's some horror there. There's some sci-fi and
exactly.
It's not X-Files sci-fi. It's like scary sci-fi.
Yeah, I feel that completely. Yeah, so moving on to season 2. We get the hatch. We get introduced to Desmond.
I love Desmond, dude.
Desmond, see you in another life, brother. I love Desmond.
That opening sequence, I think like that's to me when the show really finds its voice. That opening sequence, the make your own kind of music. Desmond's down in the hatch. He's riding his bike. And then all of a sudden you hear them banging on the hatch up top. And you're like, whoa, I had no idea what was going on. But they're picking up right where we left off.
Yep.
Literally just look up and we're back to season 1. It was incredible, man.
It was, and it was a great segue and a great way to start it, to start the tone of the season.
Yeah.
And yeah, like this one, I think this season was really heavy hitting, and it just you got to know the characters more. Their relationships blossomed, and yeah, so season 2.
You also got to meet really the anti-hero, I would say, and villain for quite a few seasons in Benjamin Linus.
True.
For the first time.
What was his name? He introduces himself as something.
I wanted to drop that. What did you say it was?
Henry.
Yeah, Henry. I think it is Henry something.
Henry something.
The story goes, him and his wife crashed on the island from a hot air balloon, and he was like a survivor. But actually, we find out that those people actually did crash. He's just such a master spy at that point in time. And that's when we also get the kind of like philosophical. It's layered in season 1, but the debate between John and Jack, and I love that. Is it science or is it faith? That's such a huge. I'm so if you want to jump into the tier rankings, I don't know how you can say season 1 is fantastic, but not say season 2 is also fantastic.
Facts. That's so true. It's true.
You know?
Yeah, it really is, and it introduced new characters. You get love, you get loss, you get betrayal. Michael betraying them for a boat. Oh.
Dude, hey, there's a fun story about why they killed off, spoiler alert, Libby, and I forget her name in the show, but she was the girl from Fast and Furious.
Fast and Furious, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did you know that the only reason they killed off those characters, and this is where it works when you write a show week to week, so people like to bag on Lost for doing that, they had gotten DUIs at a rap party. And
both of them?
For both of them on the way home, they were on Oahu, and then they hit a checkpoint station, and they both got back-to-back DUIs. Disney found out. Disney said, "No, you are not on our show" in 2005 with DUIs. So they got written off. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, man.
So they probably would have been in a lot more of the show.
They had plans for her and Hurley to really end up together and sort of oversee the island. Yeah, you could, dude. There's a show. It's by Ben Blacker. I forget the name of the show. The Writers Panel. Look up his interview with Damon Lindelof, and they go deep.
Man, I'm definitely gonna check that out.
Wow.
Yeah, man. But so season 2, fantastic. Have to go fantastic with that one. And so we're on season 3 now. This is my starting point.
Yeah.
And that finale, oh man, with Charlie and not Penny's boat. Oh gosh.
Wow, dude.
Man tears. Well, at the time, boy tears, but now man tears.
Man tears, and they still flow every time.
For real. I was watching a recap before we did this video, and I was getting teary-eyed when Charlie was like, he came to grips with his death, that he was going to die. Desmond is able to see the future after they stop pressing the button, and tells him that he's going to die. And he's coming to grips with this, and like him and his relationship with Claire and the unborn baby, like, oh, gosh. Oh.
You know what, man? To me, this is another reason why I like this show. Like, if you want to think about network TV at the time, they weren't really tackling things like addiction or you know, like the struggle of recovery, and so to do that with Charlie and so beautifully interweave it across 3 seasons.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, it's that's another reason why I think this was literally the most watched show of its day. Of course, Game of Thrones came around and crushed those records, but not by much in some episodes. And it's just like one of those things where this really did take so many more risks than just the deep sci-fi and the horror and sort of like the mind-bending aspects of it. You know,
and I feel like this. Yeah, very true. I also feel like this show was more accessible than Game of Thrones in a way, because Game of Thrones is like premium, it's HBO, but this is ABC. You know, this is a local station. Even if you don't have cable, you can catch Lost. Yeah. So
prime time, 8 p.m. I believe is prime time. 8 or 9 p.m.
I think so.
And it's just like, I mean, I don't know how this isn't. Again, I hate to be this guy, man. I promise, guys. My bias will wear off in a few minutes, but I just don't know how, when we talk about Charlie's arc, we don't put this conclusion to his arc, spoiler alert, as fantastic.
Yeah, it has to be.
It has to be, right?
The first 3 seasons, almost perfection, like pretty much perfection in my eyes. It's
100%.
so good. So
And
good.
do you know that they offered Dominic Monaghan the ability to stay on the show? They're like, look, we love having you here. We don't have to write you off, because they were writing it week to week. But he's like, you
Yeah.
know what? I'd rather my character have a strong ending. So thank
Yeah,
you,
and
Dominic
I heard
Monaghan.
about that. I heard about that, and that's just such an interesting choice. This was such a heavy hitting role, and such a huge role for him. I know
Yeah.
he had appeared in Lord of the Rings and things like that, but this is TV. This is, you know, a constant job. Like, hey, this is a job, man. But I don't know. He wanted to go out with a bang, and he did.
He did. He
Tugged on the
really did.
heartstrings of America and all the rest of the world.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
And fun fact, he was also dating Evangeline Lilly at the time.
really?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, that's
I
crazy,
did not
right?
know that.
Yeah,
I really
yeah.
didn't know that. Dang.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But yeah, so yeah, first 3 seasons in the books, fantastic. Have to be
Hands down.
fantastic.
Of course. I'm glad you
Now,
agree, man. I really am. It's good to be amongst like minds.
for sure. But now we're getting to season 4. This is where things kind of maybe fell off a little bit for me. It started, I think, is this where they started doing the flash forward episodes, or was that season 5?
You know, I don't know for sure, but
Yeah.
the one thing that I do know for a fact about season 4 is that it was very much influenced by the writer strike. Are you familiar with this?
Yes, I am. Yes, it was. And it was even shorter. It was like 14 episodes, and the rest were like pretty much 20, 22 episodes. Yeah. But the writer strike really affected this show in season 4, for sure.
And I can't say it's a fantastic season, because I think season 3, I mean, I think anyone would, if you disagree with me in the fact that they finally hadn't found their voice, again, even though they're writing it week to week, and it's very non-traditional in the sense of how television was very pre-planned and thought out up to that point, sure, but like, they obviously found their voice. Record-breaking numbers. I mean, I'm sure millions of people cried when they saw what happened to Charlie. But for them to come in on the fly and not entirely fall on their feet, actually do what a lot of the shows in the day didn't do, which was keep up, you know, just about the same amount of ratings and viewership. I respect them a lot for this, even though it wasn't like the best season. I still don't think we're in the lower tier brackets right now. I want to let you kind of like speak to what you think about this, but I mean, it's not fantastic. I think we can both agree on that.
Yes, we can agree on that. And I would say about season 4, they took a different direction, for sure. And I believe this is the see, I watched the recap, and it was all together. It didn't like split up what happened in which season. So I believe this is the season where they go back to America. They go back to, you know, where they were from, the Oceanic 6, and then they kind of have that struggle, and Jack and Kate kind of try to make things work. Jack is he finds addiction again, and I don't know, it was just kind of a step back in a way, not like too far back, but it was just like, I don't know, they wanted to do something different. They wanted to get them off the island because they've been there for 3 seasons. They wanted to do that, and I don't know how well it worked for me, but you know, it was interesting. I have to say, it was interesting. I'm willing to go good for this season.
So am I. And I, you know, one of my favorite comic writers, Brian K. Vaughan, who's done Saga and Why the Last Man, I think he's like one of the only real reasons why it was good, because they literally were pulling anyone to like come and write for this show because it was the writer strike. So they hired a comic writer who was out of his element, and for him to produce, you know, I mean, he wrote the "We Have to Go Back" line, which I think it's a pretty good line.
That was huge. That was a hard hitting line,
and it kind of became known with the show in the later seasons. Like, it was just as iconic, I'd say, as "I'll see you in another life, brother." True. I will not butcher an Australian accent. But,
yeah, I did earlier, but
so I'm with you on good. But so let me ask you before we get into this, like, if you can remember, because you said you watched 5 and 6 live. I watched 6 live. I did not watch 5 live. I was still hopeful though after season 4, and I think I was still equally as hooked.
I mean, I feel like I was equally as hooked throughout the whole show. But I think I was a little biased because I just love the characters, love the arcs, love the flashbacks. Just the writing was amazing. 1 through 3, writing was so amazing. 4, I kind of was a little bit in denial that it wasn't as good as the first 3. I was
Same,
like,
man.
I know that this season isn't as good. I'm not as interested, but it's lost. It is lost. I love this show with my whole heart. But yeah, like I have to be honest, it wasn't as good. It wasn't as up to par as the first 3 seasons.
Yeah. It also went more into the deep sci-fi too, which I think was a thing that kind of alienated some viewership. In my opinion, there's no fact there, but
and I mean that's really what we have to go by right now. But like I feel like I think this is the season where they had to move the island. Maybe that was season 5, and
I think that's a little later, but that was absurd. But I also loved how
what is happening right now? Like,
yeah, man,
come on. But yeah, so season 4, it was still good. Don't get me wrong, it was still good. But that brings us to season 5.
Good old.
This is one we had. This was one that I was kind of dreading getting to, but
I mean, so John Locke dies in this season.
Yes.
But you don't really know he dies.
It was kind of confusing, but also we saw Ben kill him. But we've known at this point that the island can bring people back. But we don't really know entirely how it works. Exactly.
And they keep introducing new things every season, so it's like hard to keep track of everything. And I'm not going to lie, rewatching it, I think 8 times now, I still kind of don't think that it entirely comes across the way they wanted it to. And that's one of the huge plot points, right? John Locke gets taken over by the Man in Black.
By the Man in Black,
You have the battle of sort of the gods here. You have heaven and hell, Satan and Jesus. You have the Man in Black and Jacob.
Right.
I just don't think the clarity was there that we needed. And I think it was, look, if I was working a water cooler job at that point in time, I'd be very confused. If I processed that as an adult and not a kid for the first time, I'd be like, what the hell went on last night?
Right, exactly. You know I was the same way, man. I was the same way. I'm like, what is going on? Who are these people? Why are they going back and forth in time? Like, it's just like a whole lot of elements that were kind of, they wanted to infer that these things happen, but it wasn't clear to the viewers because this is some confusing stuff. This is like some time-bendy, time-warping, mind-warping type stuff, and they're just assuming that we understand what they're coming across, like what's coming across. Yeah.
But
personally...
go for it.
What were you gonna say?
Oh, I was going to say there isn't all negatives, though, in my opinion, because we did kind of get to explore more so the history of the island. We got to see Benjamin Linus's past and really start to understand him and his changing role from villain to sort of like anti-hero, which I think that is one of the things that really works in the later season is Benjamin Linus's arc, because he's not as one-dimensional as we thought. He's not this big bad spinning the web. I mean, he has a daughter that he very much so cares for, and he wasn't from the island like everyone thought, but the island is everything to him, and so he's sort of fighting this like he wants the island to be his, but the island doesn't want him to be his, and like we really kind of explore all that in like a very interesting way. And I feel like, and I don't want to be too like, oh man, like this dude's like such a film, like whatever. But like, I really think that's like talking about materialism, like he wants to get something from an inanimate object, the island, that he's never going to get, but he keeps searching for it. And I really feel like that was, I always kind of like see that like level there, and I no confirmation from the writers, but so I don't think it's all bad in my opinion.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. When we get the history of certain characters, we get the history of the island. The way they did it was very interesting, how they literally went back in time. Literally. It wasn't a flashback. It was like they literally went back. And I don't know if that was a great choice, in my opinion. But
can we talk about the finale? The not nuclear bomb, but the
yeah,
bomb exploding.
Yes. Okay. So
that heartbreaking moment between Sawyer and Juliet. I mean, it wasn't all bad. You know, it wasn't all bad.
I'm about to cry right here on video, on camera. That was probably the hardest death in the show for me. But Charlie is a close second.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of, I don't know, it kind of interchanges for me. But Juliet's death was so crazy. Like, her and Sawyer really, like, built this relationship and this bond. And, you know, we thought that Juliet was going to be cool, you know? It was going to be cool. They were going to live forever and, you know, happily ever after. But it didn't quite work out that way. No. So, yeah, that finale was crazy. But everything leading up to that was just a little confusing and a little crazy to me. So, I'm feeling not so good on this one.
All right. Well, let me pose one thing. I think it should be one category higher. I think it should be in good. And I guess it really comes down to that moment where they're in the past and they're living in the Dharma village. And Hurley is trying to write Star Wars before George Lucas can get to it.
That's funny. That's funny. That's hilarious.
I mean, to me, that's why I would have to go with good, just because it's just so clever, man. I mean,
I'll go good.
And also, I love the whole Dharma village. More serious, to be a little more serious there. I really do enjoy. And I believe this is the season where we get introduced to characters like Daniel and Charlotte and Lion. What's his name? Lioness. Lioness. Yeah, and I really just enjoy all of those characters. I felt like they were good additions.
I really did not like Charlotte. I really didn't like Charlotte. I felt like she was really annoying. She was probably my least favorite of the new characters they introduced.
I could agree with that. But I think she served a purpose to really accent the Daniel character, you know?
She did. She definitely did. Not to say that she didn't serve a purpose, just her characteristics were a little bit more annoying to me than the others. But I really did like Daniel. Daniel was probably my favorite of the new characters they introduced. And I'm not sure if they introduced them in season 4 or 5. I know they kind of highlighted on their characters in season 5, but I don't know if they actually came about in season 5.
You know what I will say? If I just misspoke there, it wouldn't be the first time that happened when we're doing it live on YouTube. So, that's all right. Yeah, man, look, it's your show, and you know what? I think you kind of convinced me, though, by highlighting the Charlotte thing. I got to throw my bias aside. I think it's a not so good. I think you were right.
It's not quite at season 4 level. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying it's bad, though. It's not bad. It's Lost, so it's not going to be bad. It's just... It's just not as good as the others. All right. We're at the final season. So before we get into this, make sure you guys smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. If you're enjoying the content, it really, really will help out. I really appreciate you guys. Go check out Chris Talkin TV podcast, Talkin podcast, and he's got other stuff going on over there. So yeah, we're gonna get into this last season of
cool.
Lost.
Thank you, AJ. I always appreciate the shout out, man.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, last season of Lost. What are we thinking, bro?
Season of Lost. Well, I can tell you what I was thinking in the moment.
Yes.
Which was, I don't want this to end. You know, I was very upset. I liked the Flash sideways. I didn't hate it. Yeah, I didn't hate it. Like I'm not saying I loved it. I used the word liked, and I use that very specifically because I think we had worse in season 5.
Yes, agreed.
Because they were just running out of ideas. I feel
it really felt like that. It really did feel like that. So
it was a recovery, and I thought it was interesting to sort of see that alternate timeline, and I think it kind of makes sense if you think about what they had been through in season 5 with the whole nuclear bomb type thing, and just, you know, this is where they're like, okay, the hat's off. This is our final season. We're gonna, you know, screw you, network. We're doing the full deep sci-fi. That's how I interpret it. You know?
See, I'll tell you when I started watching it on TV, I was exactly like you. I was like, I don't want this show to end. I want it to be like 4 or 5 more seasons. I want it to go on for a very long time. I want 10 seasons of Lost. But now thinking about it, the way they handled it, you said in season 5 it felt like they were running out of ideas. With season 6, it really felt like that with the Flash Sideways. I was like, they don't have anything else to go back to with the flashbacks or like even the flash forwards. So now they want to make an alternate dimension. Like, kind of doesn't like it's interesting. Don't get me wrong. It's interesting to see these characters in a different perspective, a different situation. But in all honesty, it felt a little bit like grasping for straws.
Okay.
And that's just how I feel now. When I was watching it, I really enjoyed it. I liked it, and I was like, "Oh, the Flash Sideways! I wonder what Flash Sideways is going to be this week." You know, like that. But now I'm just like, was that such a great idea? It's already really confusing with certain things, certain aspects of the show, and they're trying to infer. Like I said earlier, they were inferring a lot of details. Like you're supposed to assume that this happened, and you're supposed to assume that that happened, and now you're bringing in something like very new, very interesting take on these characters that we know and love. And like, so are you like trying to erase what really happened to them in the flashbacks, or are you really trying to like give us something new, a new perspective? I don't know. I was confused with that, and I was actually confused with the alternate timeline. But overall, that finale, that feature length finale, hour and 45 minutes. I think on TV it was like literally 4 hours because of commercials.
That is crazy.
It was crazy. That's like next level for TV, especially a local channel like ABC.
You're taking up all the primetime spots that way.
Bro, it was like on a Sunday. I remember because it was on a Sunday, and I don't know if you know about this, but like the VHS where you had to, record the VHS, record what's on TV. We didn't have DVR, so I had a cassette VHS tape. I put it in the VCR and recorded for I think it was only a 2-hour tape. So I had to take out the tape and put in another one so I can go rewatch Lost. There was no Hulu. There was nothing, to stream the finale on. I said, I want to watch this again, So I had to use the VHS, the good old VHS.
That's cool, man. I can't say I used the VHS in 2000. What was that? 2010?
It was 2010.
Damn, man.
I had it from when I was a kid.
That's crazy. Do you still watch VHSs on your phone?
I do. I actually do. I have a VCR and I have a case full of VHS movies.
Cool. That once this quarantine list, we may have to organize a live movie night, man, because I feel like there's got to be some charm to that.
Right.
But, I got to say about this final 6th season, the only thing that I remember thinking, even as like a little kid, was like, new characters. Why are we getting even more new characters now? Like the whole temple and the like samurai guy, and then they dip Saeed in the water, which was really cool to explore. And I think their issue here and why they didn't quite, and so I think they did stick the landing, but I think you had to wait until the finale to see it pay off. I just think the whole season leading up to it did not stick the landing. So that's why overall I don't think it's the best season. In fact, I think it's the worst season in my opinion.
It is.
But I think what happened was the network, they wanted to stop the show after 3 seasons, by the way. The network kept forcing them to keep going and going and going. So they spread out the plot points after a while of them really wanting to tell a story that like, okay, well, the island's actually the main character, okay? Because the island is all of us.
Facts.
And I think that got misconstrued just by having to write, an extra, it wasn't sure they weren't as long as the first 3 seasons, but they still wrote like an extra like 45, 50 episodes roughly, just doing quick math on the fly. And it's just like, you lost the focus there. You lost the whole importance, in my opinion, of Hurley taking over the island. I really didn't get that until a few rewatches because I was like, okay, so they're trying to say that there is hope. It's actually a really hopeful show. but you don't really, that doesn't come across because they just have to keep throwing. Right, all writing is putting your characters in situations they have to get out of, so they have to keep throwing. You know what I'm trying to say?
Trying to keep it interesting, but the way they did it, it was just it didn't come across as well as they tried to.
Exactly.
Because as a fan, I know you and me, you and I, we know that, you know, this is really what they were trying to do, but it just really wasn't, you know.
Yeah.
It didn't come across the way they wanted it to. But like for the average viewer, like somebody that never really, you know, is, you know, kind of just a casual TV watcher, I think they might have been done like in season maybe 4 or 5. They probably wouldn't have gone too much further because it was just like, and what you were saying earlier about how they kind of wanted to stop making the show, but the studio was like, you know, hey, this is making bank. This is getting people to watch our channel. So keep on making this show. Like, we're going to pay you. Keep on making the show. And they're like, okay, I guess. So we're just going to write, you know, some things down and, you know, hopefully it sticks. You know, it's like, I think some of the aspects of the show did feel like that. Not all of it. Not even all of it in season 4 through 6. But some of it did feel a little bit like that.
Yeah, and you know, I think one of the things, man, it's like there's only so much that like regular people can take in the deep sci-fi world and all that. And so when they just went in deeper and deeper and deeper, I think it did lose a lot of people. And I also think you shouldn't have to watch a show 8 times to then read into it and speculate and justify the ending because you love it. And that's what I do, and I know that's my fault. Okay, that's a flaw of mine, but I also feel like I know what they're going for.
Yeah.
But it's
I don't feel like that's a flaw, though. I don't feel like that's a flaw. I feel like that is dedication. That's something
I appreciate
something that you know and love. You're gonna take time to analyze it and dissect it. I applaud that. Like, if that's something that you love, man, go. That's more power to you. And that's how it was with the show too. It really was. So yeah.
And I think the only reason people stayed to the end is because it was the Game of Thrones effect, where it was such a cultural phenomenon that they had to see it through, but they were not enjoying it. When we just got to live that
years, you spent so many years with these characters, and you spent so much time, like, really us bonding with the characters. Like, it's really us bonding with these characters, and we put so much time into it. And, you know, we love these characters just to see where they go and where their fates end up. You got to see it. You know, that's how I feel with a lot of shows that I watch. But this show in particular, I definitely, I couldn't just stop. I have to finish it. And that payoff in the finale, it took it from bad. I don't know where I would really put it. I can't quite put it over season 5. I might just have to go not so good.
I might have to go not so good as well. As awesome as it was. Yeah. Well, I think we've been very fair, being two people who I think have a clear bias for the show as well. Yeah. We love this show, and we even defend it for some of its faults. And I think that's honestly a fair assessment, because as good as that send-off was, and it did keep people talking for years. They were dead the whole time. No, they weren't dead the whole time. I love those.
Yeah, it was. Exactly.
But still, I mean, I don't think they were talking for good reasons. So that's why I'm going to go with not so good, if I'm being objective here.
Yeah, I agree. The season overall, I honestly would say bad for the season overall. But, for the season up until the finale.
Yeah, I think the finale really is doing the heavy lifting here.
Yeah,
it just saves it.
It does. It really does. So we got all the seasons on the list. Are we having any second thoughts with this list here?
No, I think I see the show in a new light now. I've never been this honest about it. I took the blinders off, man.
Really?
Yeah, dude. I agree with every.
Like Lost was your child. You don't talk about my child. You know?
He's perfect.
It's perfect. Perfect to me. You know. Man. But yeah. So first 3 seasons in fantastic. 4th season in good. 5 and 6 not so good, and for fair reasons. We talked about it. We discussed it, and I think I felt comfortable with the list as well.
Yeah, man, this was awesome.
It was. Yeah, like that has been our tier ranking for every Lost season. And, it was a cultural phenomenon. It was such a great show. It changed the way we look at TV. And I'm so glad that you were able to come on here and discuss this with me, man.
Dude, it was my pleasure. The second you pitched this, I was like, doesn't matter when it is, where it's happening, I'll be there.
Yeah. Yes. And I'm glad. I'm thankful for it. So yeah, let us know where we can find you, man, and what you got upcoming on your channel, on your Instagram, on, whatever. Just let us know, man.
Yeah, dude. Thank you so much again for having me, AJ. This was an absolute blast. I know most of you guys couldn't really see it, but I'm wearing a Dharma Initiative shirt. On station, baby. So, you really should be able to tell how I did put my love and bias aside for this one. And I do that a lot, actually. I'd say the biggest thing about doing my show, Talkin TV, we also have a podcast, the Talkin TV podcast, available on Anchor, Stitcher, Breaker, Overcast, Radio Public, Google Podcasts, and of course, the legendary Apple Podcast. I was going to say iTunes because I'm in that old school mindset right now. But, I try to be as objective as possible, and I do that with my partner in crime, Dom, a.k.a. The Movie Nerd. We put up videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on our YouTube channel. That's at Talkin TV over on YouTube. We also put up podcast episodes every Wednesday at all those aforementioned places. We have a blast doing it, and it's a passion project, and we've been getting a lot of support lately, and we really appreciate you guys doing that with us and growing with us. And I gotta say, AJ is going to be on our channel. You can go and check the replay from Friday, August 7th, where we watched Watchmen, but he's also going to be on our channel Friday, September 4th. We're going to be watching The Karate Kid in anticipation for Cobra Kai Season 3. Hope to see you guys there. And AJ, thank you again for having me, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. Again, thank you for coming on. And so I'm AJREACTS2. And so you guys can catch me on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, Twitch, Letterboxd, AJReacts2, all across the board, all one letter, or one word, not all one letter, but all one word. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you guys next time.